Okay, I have a really good video about Indians in Canada again, and specifically Brampton, no surprise, we're going to be talking about. But I want to talk about it from a different perspective today. And let's just read one of these comments that really stuck out at me. And you can think about it more from, I hear a lot of Indians complaining about Canadians being racist, telling them to go back to India. But just think about this for a second. In Montreal, the Punjabi kids tell my kids, "You can't play with us because you aren't Punjabi." So just think about that. So this probably a white Canadian woman living in Montreal has kids, and the Indian kids don't want to play with their kids because they aren't Punjabi. Just think about that. So it's not like Canadians don't experience any prejudice or racism towards us as well. So we have these immigrants coming in, and we get treated like this as well. So it works both ways, racism and hate. I just wanted to point that out. Like I'd like to stop it from everything, but just you should think about that too. Like Indians complain a lot, being all hurt, being here, not getting treated well. But you should think about all perspectives as well, not just the Indian immigrant perspective. So it's important to think about. I'm going to show you a clip though, which I think is interesting, and then we can talk about it more.
Let me just take you through some of the most recent demographic data that we have available about Brampton from the 2021 census. Now, keep in mind, Canada's population has spiked since 2021, and the majority of immigrants who come to Canada come to Ontario, and it appears that Brampton is where most of them happen to end up. The 2021 census data shows that Brampton is more than 80% visible minority. That means it's more than 80% non-white. Well, you break that data down even further, you start to figure out where everyone who lives in Brampton comes from. The top ethnic origin in the Brampton 2021 census data is India, unsurprisingly. 180,300 people who live in Brampton come from India. The second happens to be Punjabi. Why they are separated into different categories, I'm not quite sure, but 57,000. After that, it is Sikh at 43,940. Then you get Canadian born at
Okay,
40,000.
I just want to pause this for a second. The guy, he brings in an interesting point though. He's talking about the immigrants coming into Canada, and most of them go to Ontario, he mentions, but they go to the big cities. So they go to Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. And so that's what the numbers really get distorted because all the immigrants, yes, there are a lot coming in, but they all mainly go to the big cities. They're not like spreading out. I mean, they are to some degree, but the majority go to the cities. So it's even a bigger problem. And then you get cities like Brampton, where, especially for one culture like Indians, they'll all move there, tell their friends, and then it really becomes like a little India. And then that's where the hate can come from their side as well. And like they're not mixing in with Canadians. So I just wanted to talk about that point a little bit.
If you keep going further, you see that Hindu and Pakistani both come in right around 26,000. Now, what's most remarkable about Brampton's demographic data is that from 2016 to 2021, Brampton lost 6,000 people who were originally born in Canada. That's not the percentage of them declining. That's people who have actually left Brampton. Meanwhile, in that same period of time, Brampton's foreign-born population increased to 343,690, an increase of 11.3% compared to the decrease of 2.16% of Canadian-born residents in Brampton. Non-permanent residents who live in Brampton in 2016 went from 9,000 to 40,000. Again, that's just from 2016 to 2021. And we know, of course, that Canada's temporary immigration has spiked in the same period of time. So this data, it's safe to say, is quite out of date. But even still, that tells you a lot about the makeup of Brampton. That tells you a lot about the makeup of this ethnic enclave. So we're here to try and figure out if Brampton really deserves its reputation as one of the most infamous ethnic enclaves in Canada. We're going to explore the city, take a look around, and see what we can find in Brampton for ourselves. You've been here for how many years?
15 years on this side of town and 5 years on the other side of town.
Wow, and so you must have seen it change quite a lot.
Well, yeah, the other side's modern, but it's a nice modern. They're turning this into an ugly kind of mod. I think we would call Flower Town once. Now it's called Bangladesh. So I'm in such a minority. It isn't funny. You look everywhere you look, the same thing. It's people. Why do they keep coming in? My place is getting torn down for a parking lot. My apartment I've been in for 4 or 5 years.
Well, that was fascinating. We're here in downtown Brampton. We just spoke with the man who says he's been here for 15 to 20 years. He says the city has completely changed since when he first seen it. The demographics are so noticeable that it's almost hard for him to bear. He also said something very interesting, which is that they're tearing down apartment buildings where he says the majority of Canadians actually live, and they're replacing them with parking lots. They're replacing them probably with larger high-rise buildings to make way for more people coming into this country. It does say something very strange about what's going on here, which is you have Canadians who feel like a minority in this city, who've been here for a long time, and now they're being kicked out of their rental apartments to make way for parking lots and other things. That's just the first person we've actually spoken to here in Brampton in the downtown area, and I can imagine that we might hear some very similar things. But we don't just want to speak to people who have been here for a long time. We also want to speak to people who are new to this city and what they make of living in this city and what they think about the reputation it has across the country. How long have you guys been here for?
1 year.
Okay, 1 year. Did you guys know one of the things that a lot of Canadians think about Brampton is that it's very Indian. There are a lot of Indian people who live here.
All Punjabis.
Yeah, did you guys know that? Did you guys know that before you came to Brampton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know very well.
Is it known back in India that Brampton is like that?
Yeah. That's why we come here.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of college opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's why Indians come here.
We're doing a video about Brampton. We're just asking people if they like living in this city. And
So it's interesting. That girl knew already she's been here for a year. She knew already coming to India. That's why, she came to Brampton, because there are a lot of Indians. So a lot of them do come to Brampton because there are a lot of Indians. They tell their friends and they all move over. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but it is something to take note. That's the mechanism. So we have to think about what we want to do with that information. Do we want it to become like a little India and having them and not really mixing with society? And think about, again, the original comment that I have. I'm sure you're going to get more of this if too many, any culture is in one group can be a problem if they're not assimilated and become Canadians. So there's a big problem when you get this new wave of people coming in. You can have this new attitude, and it really makes Canada look like a completely different place. And she seemed like a very nice person, but that's just what's happening.
what they think about it.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I mean, it's a pretty decent place. Then again, it's like a mini India in short.
Yeah.
You would see a lot of Indian people going around.
Yeah.
If you just scroll around, you'll see Indian people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty intense. We're asking people what they think it feels more like an Indian city than it does like a Canadian city, right?
It does. It does.
You think that maybe there are too many Indian people in Brampton? Because they say that the demographics are pretty intense. Yeah.
There are too many Indians here.
Recently went up, so they call it, so did the crime.
So the crime's bad, right?
We're up here at a feast everywhere, right? Every weekend, every day.
I mean, I do wonder who they're interviewing exactly, but you get the idea. There are clearly a lot of Indians in Brampton. Nobody disputes that. And you can get hate towards even white culture because of that, or people that are Canadians. And most people don't like it. I mean, if you read any of the comments, they're not saying, oh, get more immigrants, more Indians. This is great. This is not multicultural. This is only Indian. Like, just read these comments. I agree with the woman talking about adapting to the culture in the country you're in. Absolutely correct. And it's not all hate. They just want people to mix in and become Canadians again. And that's the whole issue and the whole debate. And a lot of, honestly, I think immigrants fail to see it from our perspective a little bit. And a lot of them even comment like, we're not originally from here either, because we're not, the indigenous population. We came over, but we've been here, a lot of us, especially like in my family, most, many people have been over, 100, since 1867, late 1800s, when Canada became Canada. We fought in wars for Canada. So it's a little bit different. I would call us Canadians, and I'm not saying that someone comes over isn't a Canadian if they want to be part of the lifestyle. But if you just want to be, Punjabi or Indian, it's not really a benefit for anybody in Canada. If you start getting this attitude, you know, telling people you can't play with somebody because you're from a different culture. And this goes both ways. Of course, it would be terrible if a white Canadian said you couldn't play with us because you're Punjabi, but I don't think that happens as much. You do get the odd, and I'll admit, like go back to India, and there is rudeness, of course, because of all the Indians coming in and some of the white trash and like people talking like poorly. Anybody doing that, people do complain. They do take note of that, but we need to talk about the problems as well, how it can be, you know, working both way, and it's terrible for us as well. So it's not. I just want to get to a place, hopefully in Canada, where things are improving again. And and when I grew up in the 1980s, it was pretty good. People did mix. People played together because there weren't so many of one particular culture. I've done some videos of just how many are Indians are coming in now. It's like a million a year. That's so much different than having less than 100,000, or you know, or even less than that's what it was before I was growing up in 1980. So it's really changed so quickly. And they all go to the cities. They go to the places where most people live. Most of the jobs are, which makes sense. That's what they're you know, that's what they're used to doing. And now it's like, look at these comments. 80% is not a minority anymore. These newcomers don't want to become Canadian. They just want Canada. Exactly. They don't really want, they want to come here and get all the benefits, but they don't really want to be Canadian. They love getting a set, like another passport and coming over here and using it. So just think about that for a second. I hope you like and subscribe to the channel, but let's have an honest discussion about what this is really doing. Okay. I will see you in the next one, and let's have a good discussion.